Hey, this week on This is Gravel, we have the Epic, we have Gravel Try Harder, and we have you, social media. Enjoy. Hey, welcome to This is Gravel. I am Bobby Thompson, and with me today, as always, is
Neil Taylor.
Neil. How you doing?
Oh, not bad.
What's been going on, Neil?
Oh, a lot of things. Actually, been on my bike a bunch since Land Run. It's kind of crazy. I probably have more miles in the past 2.5 weeks since Land Run than I had in the 2.5 months before Land Run. So that's been nice. Getting our high schoolers out for longer rides. Got 3 of them that are going to be doing the 100 now. I got one that's transferring into a spot. And so,
nice.
Yeah, he was going to do the 50, but he's like, nah, I can take on the 100, I think. And so he did it actually last year, so I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But got out there with them, and then we actually did a team photo last night. So we had our 11 students that could make it out there for that photo in the Flint Hills with the field burning going on. And it's a little hazy out there.
Sure.
But that's part of what makes Dirty Kansas beautiful too, because it's so green.
Yeah.
So it's been good. It's been busy. It's been nice to be back on the bike. Producer Matt ripped my legs off here a couple days ago, riding pretty hard, but things have been good. What have you been up to, Bobby?
Let me ask you this before we go on.
Okay.
Have you ran an inch since the Land Run?
What's running?
That's what I thought.
Never heard of it.
I've been riding a lot, so it's been nice. The weather has changed. So I've gotten off the trainer and back outside. So, my first ride, as you guys have all made fun of me. Well, okay, let me clear the air on this. So I went on a group ride, a very casual group ride last week, and seal popped on the tire, so tire went flat, and I didn't have anything on the bike to change the tire. My ego wouldn't let people help me because you had already hung back with me for a few minutes, and I wanted you guys to go on, and I was just going to put a tube in the tire. So I said, go, and then come to find out, I forgot that I have to have a 5mm wrench to take off my axle, and I have no tools. So yeah, I had to make the call of shame to my wife for probably the first time in, I don't even remember, so maybe 5 years. So the next day I went down to the bike shop, and I now have 3 separate saddlebags for all 3 bikes that I ride most. Everyone is full of their own supplies because I had taken it out and put it on the tandem for the Land Run.
Yep.
Is where everything was on the tandem, and didn't even give it a second thought after that. So other than that ride, though, I went right back out Sunday and had a 75-mile ride up north towards Council Grove and everything. And we had a great day out there. It was perfect. So as soon as we leave here today, I'm going to go out and do another 50 miles. And then Barry-Roubaix is coming up on April 13th. So heading up to Hastings, Michigan, which I got to say, I had no idea in my head how far Michigan was.
14 hours.
Right,
yeah.
Until I signed up. And then a buddy signed up, and he's like, well, he realized this is like a 13-hour drive, right? And I was like, no, I didn't. So we're going to go up there. We're going to race the 62 or 60-ish mile ride.
Nice.
So, looking forward to that. And then we have Epic coming up at the end of the month. So just a lot of things.
Be ready for all levels of weather in Michigan. My dad lived right up just about an hour north of where Barry-Roubaix is at. And
I would be more concerned if I was doing the 100-mile.
Yeah.
But doing the 60-mile, even in worst case scenario, let's say it's 10 miles an hour, slop and everything, it's still just a 6-hour ride, instead of a 10-hour long day out there. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully it'll go good for you. Hopefully it'll be a good time. I know you got Epic coming up here too pretty soon. And if I'm not mistaken, you did something special with the guys with Epic here recently.
Yeah, so A few weeks ago, well, heck, a month ago, we started. Matt let me play around with a podcast, an audio podcast called Ride Casual, and so we caught up with Kent and Josh and Don of the Epic 150. Well, the Epic, because now they have various levels of rides down there. We talked about it. It's out on the Gravel Guru site and my own site, and yeah, definitely it's going to be a fun event. They've upgraded some things this year. They're coming out with they have their own IPL, which an IPA lager that's going to be, so that'll be good. And then they have I think they have a little bit different setup at the venue, maybe a little bit better, different course markings this year. So they're really excited about the thing. They actually have an entirely alternate rain course. So if it does rain down there, they have a dry course that'll be safe to ride on. They're just going to switch over to the dry. So we hope that we get to ride the original course, because if you've ever designed anything, even a weekend ride, your first design is the one that you love. And so hopefully we get to ride that one, because that's the one that they love the most. I had signed up for the 150, but a good friend of mine who keeps telling me to back off a little bit, because I do have a lot of rides this year. So I did switch to I think last year was 81. I think they're calling it 90 this year. But I did make him agree that if we went backwards and did fewer miles, we had to do it single speed. So we're going to go up and ride at single speed. So that should be fun.
Sounds fun. Who would ride a single speed?
So from what I hear, it's absolutely nothing but climbing. So yeah, it'll be fun. Gravel Guru Matt is going to take his crew down there, and they're going to be filming down there. So I'll get to hang out with the boys down there. So we'll have some highlights probably coming back from it afterwards, I'm guessing, right, Matt? So it's going to be a fun weekend.
I'm kind of bummed because it's another year that I get to watch the highlights of the Epic and not be there. Unfortunately, my wife will be going for a wedding that weekend, and I have 2 kids that I have to be taking care of. So this year I was really hoping to get out there. I mean, it was my intention. I was like, you know what, I can go do the 80, the 150 on the single speed out in those hills. Kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, I've seen numbers around 15,000 feet of climbing, from some people in years past, and my thought was, I don't really know if that's where I want to be at, and if I'd even be ready for that at the end of April, to be honest with you. So hopefully 2020 is the year that I get to finally get out there to the Epic and get to experience.
Well, that was kind of the rationale. When I finally rationalized stepping back to the 80, 90, whatever that mileage was I've done enough of these challenge rides. The Gravel Worlds is 150 every year, the DKs too. I'm pretty sure that barring a mechanical, I could finish it, but it would be long enough into the day that I would be riding in and around friends, and then be so tired that I'd want to be done and back to the hotel and sleeping afterwards. Where doing the 90, I still get to blow myself up, doing that, because it's not going to be easy. So you still blow yourself up. Then you hang, grab a lawn chair, grab a beer, and cheer for other people. And that sounded kind of a different thing this year. So,
cool.
So I'm excited for it. But
awesome, sounds good.
So this week, a lot of people in Emporia for Dirty Kansas training camp.
Yes, there is.
And you met someone that you've sat down and talked with?
Yeah, I got to sit down with Gravel Tryhard. If you haven't been on Instagram recently and seen that account, I recommend you go check it out. But we had a good time getting to sit down and talk a little bit about what she's doing. And so let's go take a look at that. If you have not gone and seen Gravel_Tryhard on Instagram, it is a page that you definitely need to check out. In about, 3 months, you've already gained about 11.7 thousand Instagram followers. So quick question, how in the world have you jumped to almost 12,000 Instagram followers in 3 short months?
So I actually, when I started this project, I actually did not have any personal social media at all. I wouldn't say I'm anti-social media. It's just not something that I've ever really engaged with. I was really naive to it. Like I had Facebook for about 2 years, like my first 2 years of college. And then there was a point, like, I'm not going to say what year it was because I'd be dating myself, but there came a point where I just said, this is not making my life better. I'm done with Facebook. So I didn't have Facebook. I'd never had a personal Instagram. I was kind of naive to the entire thing. That means that I kind of started this in a naive way by basically my first couple of days on Instagram. I started out trying to see if I could follow everyone on Instagram who had ever discussed gravel bikes. Because I figured, that's how you connect to people. That's how you get their attention. That's how you make friends with them. You go to everybody who's like ever clicked like on the Land Run 100 page and you follow them. And I realize now that that's kind of frowned upon on social media. That's people kind of see that as spammy. People are more likely to get irritated with you than to actually follow you back. But luckily enough, some people followed me back, and some of them were kind of the right people, and I grew a small following that was half personal friends of mine and cyclists I actually knew and had connected with outside of social media, and then half people who I had just blindly followed and who had been courteous enough to click on my page and follow me back. And so we were pretty stable for a while, and then I just blindly lucked into kind of connecting with a few of the right people and got just a couple of boosts of increasing size. I don't want to name kind of people who featured me early on because I know I'd be leaving some people out. And they were all so helpful. Awesome. But the one that really made it take off was John Watson from the Radavist featured a parody that I did of a picture that he took on his Instagram page, and then also on the Radavist, and so there were some positive feedback from that, and there were some followers that came from that, either because of that or around the same time. I guess some people who write for Bicycling Magazine kind of became gravel tryhard fans and eventually contacted me, and I can only imagine that what they were thinking was, this isn't going away, so let's have a chat with her. And they wrote an article. And the day that article came out, I think I went from 3,500 to close to 10,000 followers in a day. Wow. And then everything after that has been pretty much momentum from that. Okay,
so you mentioned, at the beginning, going to Land Run, liking all the people that like Land Run, because that sounds like something I do. So speaking of Land Run, we were down there, we don't have a massive following, but we got a pretty solid following, built up here between Gravel Guru page and my page and Bobby's page. And we got a lot of interesting interactions while we were down at Land Run. Well, as I was having some of those interesting interactions with people, every now and then they would spot you off in the distance, and I would hear, "Oh my goodness, that's Gravel Tryhard. Have you heard of the page? Have you seen it?" And they would immediately whip out the phone and just start scrolling through. So I want to ask you, what has either been the wildest or most enjoyable, you could say, interaction that you've had with someone that was a fan of the page here over the past 3 months?
So probably the one that surprised me the most was I was actually just literally walking down the street, and a woman just getting out of her car recognized me and ran over to come. This wasn't at a race. It was literally just walking down the street in Emporia. And a woman just recognized me and ran over to tell me that she was a fan. And of course, I gave her a big hug and I told her she was amazing because that was the first time that had ever happened to me. I more generally was shocked by how much this project has contributed to my feeling of being part of the cycling community. I mean, I feel like that was already a deeply rooted part of my identity, being a cyclist and being part of kind of a community and being part of the gravel cycling community. But I feel like starting this project brought it to another level. I mean, at Land Run, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. I kept thinking to myself, am I famous? Is it completely arrogant and just completely overblown of me to think that people are going to come to me at Land Run and recognize me? And the answer was no, that wasn't crazy. That wasn't arrogant. People actually did just want to meet me and talk to me. And it made me feel like coming home. It was amazing.
I guess deeper, more serious note, you mentioned, I know we don't want to get too serious here, but you mentioned doing the parodies.
Yeah.
Okay, and obviously folks have seen the page. Some of those parodies are definitely a little more sexualized than others. So in an industry that, for the most part, cycling industry has been a very male-dominated, and women are kind of looked at in a certain way, and we see that in a lot of the photos that you do parody and feature. Why did you choose this as kind of a way to make a statement about ultimately this problem?
Yeah. So, wow, that's a big question.
I know there's a lot there.
It's not quite as serious of a question as I was expecting. Because
harder.
the question is ultimately, why did you choose parody? Why did you choose satire? Why are you making fun of this? And I think the reason that the humor side of it plays well for me is because what attracts me, just as a person, with regards to this project, is the idea that I can reach out and make women's days better and make female cyclists' day better. And when you see this stuff, so if you remember, I did some posts on Stradale, the cycling company, probably with the scummiest cycling advertising I've ever seen. And when I first saw those ads, that was honestly the first one that actually really hit me. Like, I sat at my computer and I cried. Like, when I looked at those, just like at the thought that somebody could have looked at that and could have had such a dehumanizing perspective on female cyclists that they would have thought it was okay to release that into the world. Like, I sat at my computer and I cried. And that feeling of just disgust and horror and outrage and sadness, there's something isolating about that. That it makes you feel lonely and it makes you feel crappy. It ruins your day.
Yeah, when I first came upon the page, my wife and I were having a conversation about it, and she's just new into cycling, bought a bike less than a year ago. And she asks me for different tips, but she needs different tips, obviously, for the women's side of cycling. And so she'll get on something like Pinterest and jump on there and type in women's cycling.
You look up women's cycling, and
she's like, there's no
there's
point.
The page.
Because all it is women with no clothes on. Women who, are doing very, just similar pictures to the ones that you are parodying. And she's like, so I can't even go there for any advice. So she had to ultimately kind of get comfortable going up to people that she didn't even know within our community, or having me introduce her to somebody within our community that's a cyclist and say, hey, can you kind of give her some advice?
Thank goodness those people are there.
Especially here, in Emporia, we have such a great group of women here that really have helped, not both just her, but my daughter as well. My daughter feels like she can ride a bike because she has seen the women within this community that are riding bikes. And so that is, to me as a father, is cool to get to see that for my daughter. And it's also, again, it's heartwarming for my wife to be able to get that too.
What I picture is, your wife or your daughter wants to get into cycling or is just getting into cycling, looks up that tag on Pinterest and sees, some of this advertising, some of this hashtag influencer stuff that's just blatantly objectifying and just unpleasant for anyone to look at, I would hope, but also sees people like me and people like me flooding those tags with stuff that is saying to, your wife and your daughter, I want to make you laugh. I want to make you smile. And I want to do that by showing you that women who are already deeply embedded in the cycling community, when we look at this stuff, we laugh. Yeah. We get outraged, but we also understand, we feel deeply how laughable it is. And I want to share that perspective
and
with
that's
you.
Not real, and that's not real.
Exactly.
But
and
for somebody that's a novice that has no idea,
they know it's not real. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to make the mistake of thinking they're supposed to ride their bicycle in stilettos, I hope.
It might be an option. But
they see it, and I mean, I can only imagine seeing that when I didn't have this identity as a cyclist and thinking to myself, I can only imagine thinking like, well, clearly this sport's for men. Yeah. Obviously, nobody would actually ride their bike in stilettos, so clearly the reason they're putting these women in these stilettos and putting them on these pages is because this is just for men.
And that's
they don't want me.
Especially within gravel cycling, I've noticed it seems like gravel cycling doesn't care. We're going to break down those walls more than maybe in other areas. Not to say that mountain biking isn't doing the same thing or road cycling isn't, but Whether it was, Bobby Wintle a few years ago when him and Crystal decided to open up the land run to all the women that were on the waiting list. I mean, so they had a waiting list of women, and if you were on it, there's no waiting anymore. You're a part of it. Dirty Kansas with the 200 Women, 200 Miles initiative to say, you know what, let's get 200 women out here and let's have them ride the Flint Hills, and we're going to put these spots aside for them, and then for them to realize that it's sold out a whole lot faster than they were even thinking was going to be the case. It's good to see people within our community definitely making that push.
And people have said to me a couple times, what can I do? And people have said that to me from various positions and with various resources. But the underlying answer that I always want to give is make something for women. Think about what resources you have, think about what you're capable of doing, and use it to make something or do something for female cyclists. Find a way to create something with your time and your energy that will, in my case, it's make a female cyclist's day. Make them feel connected via humor rather than make them feel isolated via, oh God, this stuff is just making me so furious.
All right, so on to some of the fun you've had with some of these posts, being a boss babe yourself and wanting to get out there and just have some fun.
Because it's all well and good to talk about the feminist stuff, but I actually do have to be out there taking the pictures.
Yeah, you got to get out there and you're doing this. And you have parodied some people with some quite large Instagram followings. You have parodied some individuals who are also serious cyclists, for instance, like Ted King. You've had a little bit of fun with Ted, and from everything I understood, he enjoyed that.
And Liz Hatch is an example that I always give of, I'm not trying to convey the impression of like, oh, I'm a better cyclist than these women, so I'm punching down because I don't think they actually ride their bikes. Like, I will freely acknowledge that. I mean, I'm sure plenty of the women who I've parodied could drop me.
The question is there anyone off limits? Is there anyone within the cycling industry that you say, you know what, I'm not leaving them alone?
Interesting. Oh, there are a couple of different ways I could answer that. This is probably going to get me in trouble, but I said for a while that anyone connected with Durian Rider was probably off limits because I didn't want trouble. But then I actually did do a parody of a video that his girlfriend did. So I guess that limit has been smashed. That's all I can think of in terms of individuals. I'll tell you in general, I try not to punch down. That doesn't mean that I have, a strict rule of you must have this many followers. Yeah. But if it's just some female cyclist who just takes a silly picture with her friends, or even if she takes a sexy picture with her friends, that's not part of the system that I'm concerned about. I don't care.
Okay, so for yourself, though, are there any limits maybe? Because, you have definitely aired yourself out there pretty well on Instagram. So is there a level where you say, I'm not going to go to that point in a post?
There are some, so obviously, nothing dangerous or illegal or against the Instagram terms of service. Yes. So I can safely say that I haven't done anything that would break those rules. I can also tell you that I haven't kind of reached that point yet. There hasn't been a point where I've said, oh, I have this brilliant idea for a post, but I just don't feel comfortable doing it. I could imagine reaching that point, but it hasn't happened. I will tell you that remaining anonymous online goes a long way towards making me personally feel more comfortable with doing some of the things that I do. I can also say that some of the stuff, I have a really, really, really long list of photos that I thought about parodying but didn't. Yeah. And a lot of them are really just very overtly kind of, a lot of them really do fit the mold, but a lot of the ones just wouldn't be funny to parody. Because, for instance, you'll see photos where the only really remarkable thing, the only thing that makes this a boss babe shot is that the woman is very, very well endowed and she kind of has her jersey zipped down to her navel in a climate where that wouldn't really make sense. And, often is not really wearing any support under the jersey. And that's a thing that you see in a lot of photos. And could I really get a parody? Could I create a parody of that would really play well and that would really be coherent in a photo that would kind of make sense to people? I mean, not really, I don't think. I think the ones that interest me more are the ones where there's something just clearly impractical happening.
Some odd poses.
Yeah, she doesn't just have the jersey unzipped. She's got the jersey unzipped and she's also wearing Ugg boots. Or she's also straddling her bicycle backwards.
Upside down, yeah.
And there's so much of that, you know, I'm not going to run out of things that would make a really clear and strong parody anytime soon.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot of folks out there that probably aspire to be boss babes themselves. So kind of as a closing question here, what would be 3 tips that you would give to someone who says, you know what, I want to be a boss babe?
You know, I'm inspired. I'm hashtag inspired. Gravel Try Hard has inspired me. I want to be a boss babe. Okay. So first of all, you'll never, ever, ever see a muddy boss babe, right? Mm-hmm. So they're never dirty and their bikes are never dirty. And what that means is that if you want to be a boss babe, you have to learn to bunny hop everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got to become like a cyclocross expert.
I just learned how to bunny hop this last year, actually, thanks to one of my high school students.
I still haven't mastered it.
So, I'm getting there. I definitely don't think I could bunny hop anything, but I'm going to try my best to not get dirty.
Yeah,
in the future,
you're going to have to learn.
Okay.
Yeah, like, because no crashes, because crashes get you dirty, and crashes mess up your clothes and your hairdo. And also no riding through the mud, because mud spatter, not a boss babe thing.
No, don't want any mud. Okay, second one.
Number 2, aero is everything. So you got to get the, you know, not just the stilettos, but the aerodynamic stilettos with the pointed fronts.
Okay.
You got to get, like, I mean, this explains a lot of the nudity, I feel like, and also the skin suits. I mean, I think what you see is probably skin suits first, is probably the most common costume choice. And then, like, varying degrees of nudity, and then regular jerseys. And, like, the only possible explanation is aerodynamics.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's less friction, less rub, less things for the air to catch. I mean, you can't get out there in club ride gear, probably, and think about being a boss babe, because you are not going to...
I mean, how are you going to stand out like that?
Yeah,
Dude,
absolutely.
just look like everybody else on the team? It's ridiculous.
One last tip.
Okay. So if you want to be a boss babe, I'm convinced that there is... So you know how... You know how when you become an adult, they give you the being an adult manual, right? Like they give you the book when you turn 18, and it's all how to be an adult.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Yeah, I lost mine long ago. But you know, how to file your taxes. So I'm convinced that there is a boss babe posing manual, like the boss babe lookbook, because it seems impossible to me that they would have all settled on the same set of like 3 or 4 poses so consistently without some kind of underlying, like, there's gotta be someone there who's corralling the boss babes, who is explaining that, you know, no, this pose is boss, this pose not boss. And we've actually, we've started naming them. Like, this is, you know, I know I'm being flippant, but like, it is actually something that you see that absolutely cracks me up, is that you'll just be looking through a brand new account that you've never looked at before. And same exact poses.
Exact same poses.
Same poses.
Now, you've seen the exact same poses, saddle in the same place.
Yep.
Same usage of different parts of the bike, no doubt. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, hey, hopefully folks can take that advice if they want to be a boss babe, and they can move forward with that and maybe have a little bit of fun of their own.
I think it's very actionable. Yeah.
And and you yourself can hopefully influence them and continue on with that. Well, Gravel Try Hard, we appreciate you joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, thanks Gravel Try Hard and the Minister of Gravel for leading us right into social media this week. First up, we got this photo from Matt out at the Cascade Super Gravel 70 on Saturday, followed by Mount Rainier National Park up to Paradise on Sunday, out on the gravel bike. Gorgeous weather there in Washington. Donaldson in this photo, out riding north of Eagle, Idaho, got in 42 miles. Look at that gorgeous view. This in from Scott out at the freezing cold and windy Fort Worth, Texas Fondo. But he says now he's here in Emporia, Kansas for the DK camp this coming weekend. Amy sent in this photo from the inaugural Dirty Dollar in Oldsburg, Kansas. One could say it had its challenges: cold, wet, windy, and muddy. Wyatt sent in this photo roaming around Oklahoma and Logan counties in central Oklahoma. Corey Rude got the 6-year-old out for the first 20 miles of the year for him. That looks like a lot of fun on the tandem, Corey. Natasha was out at Rage Against the Chainring Bowls on Parade in Douglas, Kansas. A race of pure endurance. Snow flurries in the morning, bringing on some misty rain, then 20 to 30 mile an hour north wind. Craig Schmidt was out exploring Gage County south of Lincoln, Nebraska. And Vince Noble was out in southeast Ohio with the Ohio Gravel Grinders, grinding out 30 miles with 3,000 feet of climbing. Thank you to everybody that submitted photos using the hashtag #ThisIsGravel on Facebook and Instagram. Back to you guys.
So thanks, Matt, for going through that. Did you see locally the Dirty Dollar picks from last weekend?
Yes, I saw it. You know, we always joked about a land run year with snow. After seeing those pictures,
Yeah.
let's keep land run dry.
Yeah, no snow for land running. That would be very similar. And I'm done. I'm done with winter.
It's springtime. We've had like nice temperatures recently. We've been enjoying it. We've been getting out. I'll pass on that kind of stuff. All right, thanks guys for watching this week. Be back in a couple weeks, I'm sure, to talk a little bit of Epic because it's going to be coming up.
Yep.
So we'll hit a little bit more of that, but make sure to be tagging everything again with This Is Gravel. Make sure you're following Gravel Guru on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those wonderful places. Casual Cyclist on Instagram, but Ride Casual on Facebook. And the Minister of Gravel on Facebook and Instagram. And look forward to seeing you guys next time.
See ya.